When did you move to the US?
I moved to the US first in 2010 and then permanently in 2011.
Was migrating for you as expected? Were there any surprises?
I expected it to be difficult in terms of like starting over with your network, your friendships, and not to mention all the cultural differences, but it ended up being way harder than that because I moved when I was 20 years old, and I didn't expect that that would also entail having to deal with yourself as you're growing up to be an adult. And in a strange new place where the rules are different, sort of, not being at my parents' house. It was a lot of like negotiating with myself on like how much to evolve basically in this new environment that I was, while I was trying to look for a new support system, figuring out, what did I want to do with my career. I didn't have a career to speak of yet at that point, so really figuring out what I wanted to do with my life in this new country and just trying to find my place in LA because I really, really wanted to move here, but at the same time, I think I was very optimistic and very naive about my expectations of what living here was going to be like. And I had to learn how to drive, so that was a huge thing.
Aside from driving, what was the biggest thing you learned from that process?
I definitely learned the real meaning of being an adult. Moving into LA, in the Philippines, I was bankrolled by my parents. I lived under my parents' roof, so all I had to worry about was finding something to do. Especially out of college, I had my first job, but it was an incredibly low-paying job. I was so excited. I remember getting my very first paycheck. It was actually sent to us through a bank card. I was so excited. I went to the ATM, saw the amount of money, and I was like, my face was immediately like, oh, that's it? Like for a whole month, that's all I get? I withdrew it. I told my mom, I'm buying dinner for everyone. And she's like, great, because that's all you can pay for. And because I lived outside of Manila, I had to have a driver drive me to work. And I found out my driver was actually making way more money than I was. So coming here, it was kind of a shock because now I have to pay all my bills. If I want to buy something, I have to buy it for myself. And I really had to learn to become fully self-sufficient. And I think I'm really good at it now, but starting out, it was very scary. It actually really felt crippling because you didn't have the flexibility of not doing anything because otherwise you wouldn't have any money. So it was actually a crash course into becoming an adult.
Are there any Filipino values that remain true to you?
I think Filipinos tend to be full of pride a little bit, and also prioritize getting along with everyone in any situation, not making any situation uncomfortable. And I think that's one of the values that I still hold, especially as a photographer now, when I'm on set. And usually when you're working in photo shoots, you're working with 5, 6 other people and a lot of personalities in one set. And I think I hold myself responsible to make sure that the vibe is kind of harmonious and everyone's getting along and no one's uncomfortable. And I think that's a very Filipino thing. And also hosting, like when you're hosting people, you feel this obligation to just overfeed people. And I definitely feel that pressure whenever I have anyone over. I feel like, oh my god, I don't have anything and I gotta get some stuff. Or yeah, just constantly overdoing stuff. I feel like we always feel this obligation to make people feel comfortable and make sure they don't need anything in the moment when they're with you. And I don't think they're bad qualities to have, but I definitely think it's a little over the top sometimes.
What are you unlearning?
The biggest thing that I'm unlearning is the religious aspect of my upbringing in the Philippines. You know, leaving where you grew up in your 20s, you have way more baggage than if I had left maybe when I was like a teenager or even younger. But because I was 20, you know, in a way I was already almost fully formed. So there were a lot of stuff that I believed and that I did subconsciously that were extremely like religious, like the context of my actions and my thoughts, you know? And moving here, it's not that I don't believe in any spiritual stuff. Like I think I'm still very spiritual. I just don't subscribe to the Catholic way of thinking anymore. And I don't think there's anything wrong with being Catholic. It's just that it's not something that works for me anymore. And that's probably one of the biggest things that I'm still unlearning, because I do catch myself, you know, I still can't fully sleep without saying a prayer, you know? One of those, like, I think that's just gonna be something that will stay with me my whole life. But even like kindness towards strangers, etc., I think how it's been framed before when I was growing up, it's always like watching out for your karma or whatever. But I think now I just want to be kind, period. I don't necessarily want to be kind so that it will come back to me. I think I'm trying to teach myself that not everything I do has to be in the service of wanting something in return. And that's really hard to unlearn, and I'm trying my best with that.
Thank you.